Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet the inductees for the 2025 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. First, representing the Nashua Athletics contributor category and longtime Nashua Athletic Director Al Harrington. Please welcome his children, Chrissy Wren and Joe Harrington. And next, let's welcome Nashua Athletics contributor and the first Nashua South Athletics administrative assistant, Diane Keene. This next gentleman unable to be with us here today, but how about a Gate City nail-banging welcome for Nashua Senior High School coach Bill Hardy. Next up, how about a big Panther roar to Nashua Senior High School coach George Noucas. Nuke! How about a purple rain cheer for class of 2011 Nashua High School South student athlete Caitlyn Ackerman. Also unable to join us, let's hear a nice round of applause for Nashua North, class of 2009, student athlete Shalyn Johnson. How about a great welcome home to Nashua Senior High School class of 1999, student athlete Jamison Franks. Right next to me, Jamie. Yeah. How about a long overdue welcome to Nashua Senior High School class of 1994, student athlete Sarah Neville Guadiano. Next up, how about a nice subdued round of applause for Nashua Senior High School class of 1998, student athlete Aaron Gureckis. And last but certainly not least, let's give a shot put shout out to Nashua Senior High School class of 2004, student athlete Matt Sheehan. Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2025 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. Good-looking group. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame induction ceremony. My name is Jason Roby. I will be the master of ceremonies for this afternoon's inductions. Now, things should go off without a hitch, but in the event that they don't, I just want to direct your attention to the emergency exits that we have located in the three right furthest most sections. All right, very good. Some people got that joke. Very good, very good. Today is truly an exciting day to look out and see so many familiar faces and people in attendance, some of whom actually bought tickets. Just kidding, just kidding. Tonight's attendance speaks volumes as to the support each inductee has from friends, family, and loved ones. But in all seriousness, it's great to see the Hall of Fame back again. So how did we get here? I'm sure many of you are asking that question. Let's take a trip back to 2018 when Nashua Athletic Director Lisa Gingras brought the idea to resurrect and also recreate a new Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. Absolutely. Although I know she doesn't want the credit, Lisa is the main reason why we're here today to once again celebrate and recognize greatness here in the city of Nashua. Would you please welcome to the podium the Athletic Director of Nashua School District and the co-head chair of the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame Board of Directors, Lisa Gingras.
Thank you, Jason, very much. On behalf of the committee, welcome to the 13th induction of the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. We're excited that all of you have joined us today and have filled this ballroom. We know there are some who were supposed to be here today that were not able to join us, but we thank you all for being here to celebrate our 10 inductees. This incredible turnout shows the impact that these individuals have had on you, as well as so many others in the Nashua community. The number of people who've chosen to be here today at today's induction and honor the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame class of 2025 acknowledges the importance of education-based athletics and how much of an integral part of our school district it is. Our school athletic programs impact so many students, coaches, families, and community members each and every season. Before we honor today's inductees, I'd like to take a moment to thank the members of the Hall of Fame committee who have been on this journey from the beginning and will continue to work tirelessly to support Nashua student athletes and coaches. Thank you for your hard work and commitment and support through the resurrection of this Hall of Fame and for bringing us to this induction. If you could each stand when called and remain standing until all members have been introduced. Assistant Committee Chair and Nashua Hall of Fame member, Ed Leishus. Our committee secretary and today's Master of Ceremonies, phys ed teacher and former coach, Jason Roby. Unable to be here with us today, the principal of Nashua High School North and coach, Nate Burns. Principal of Nashua High School South and coach, Keith Richard. Nashua High School North athletic coordinator, short timer, Mike Susi. Nashua athletic coordinator and basketball coach at Nashua High School South, Nate Mazerol. The next member of our committee deserves the loudest round of applause because she is someone who is most responsible for pulling today's ceremony and reception and banquet. Her organization, attention to detail, record keeping, and work ethic have been instrumental in making all of this happen. Administrative Assistant at Nashua High School North Athletic Department, Karen Burnett. Nashua High School South Athletic Department Administrative Assistant, Don O'Brien. Telegraph reporter who probably knows more about everybody in this room than you do, Tom King. Three-season coach and phys ed teacher, Renee Archer. Three-season coach and phys ed teacher and attached to Renee's hip, Kiki McIntyre. Retired phys ed teacher and recently retired coach, Mr. Scott Knight. Coach and Hall of Fame member, Bill Stump. And another Hall of Fame member who is not with us today, George Tebbets. Thank you to all of you. Though not able to be with us today, I would like to thank Nashua School District Superintendent Dr. Mario Andrade, Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Schools Mr. Matt Posca, and the Nashua Board of Education for always supporting the athletic department and recognizing the significant positive impact that education-based athletics has on our students, teaching core values such as responsibility and teamwork through competition. The purpose of the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame is to recognize and honor those Nashua High School athletes, coaches, teams, administrators, and special contributors who have made exceptional contributions in their respective roles and who help to bring honor, recognition, distinction, and excellence to Nashua athletics by continuing to conduct themselves well both in and out of athletic competition. The individuals honored have continued to demonstrate those values imparted by high school athletics long after their high school graduation. After nearly a 20-year hiatus, the Nashua Hall was resurrected in 2018, as Jason mentioned, and we virtually inducted the 11th class in the spring of 2021. 2 years ago, we held the first in-person induction in more than 20 years. It is an honor to represent the Nashua School District Athletic Department today and recognize and honor our 10 new inductees. Thank you all for coming. Congratulations to this year's inductees, and I hope you enjoy your afternoon. At this time, it is my privilege to introduce a man who needs no introduction to many of you here today, the Assistant Chair of our Hall of Fame Committee and Hall of Fame member, Mr. Ed Leishus.
Thank you, Lisa. As unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, I thought I was off the hook when Jason started his remarks. He started going right into my speech. But seriously, the Hall of Fame has been around for 4 decades, but as Lisa mentioned, there was a 20-year gap in the process. It all began with the retirement of the late, great Buzz Harvey as athletic director, and his successor, Al Harrington, began discussions in the late 1980s, and the first inaugural class came to fruition in 1991. Groups of Nashua High supporters, Booster Club, former athletes, contributors, all got together to bring that to the beginning. With Harrington's retirement after 24 years, several years later, the advent of 2 public high schools, the Hall of Fame just kind of went off the radar. As was mentioned, when Lisa took over as athletic director, one of her first initial goals was to reinstate the Hall of Fame. Before assembling the committee, she looked everywhere, went everywhere, talked to colleges, talked to other halls of fames. She wanted to do it and do it right. She brought the committee together. The conversations began in 2018, and after a 20-year absence, the criteria was developed, the committee was formed, and we were ready to go with our first induction in 2021. Enter COVID. But not to be stopped, a virtual ceremony was held that year. Thanks in part to the television class of Mr. Jeff Leone at the high school and others, we were able to do it virtually. 2023, the first in-person event took place right here. The first class was here, as well as the 2023 class. So everyone had their day in the sun. And now, as we prepare today, we have 128 members, and by the close of today, our numbers will grow to 138. It's been wonderful being part of this committee because it does recognize the best of the best here in Nashua. And it brings to fruition the dream that Lisa had when she began. So I say to the inductees today, congratulations, best wishes, and good luck as your futures continue. Before I go, I'd like to ask us all to pause for a moment to remember those members of this committee and the members of the Hall of Fame, past and present, who have left, for their contributions are insurmountable to Nashua High School. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Lisa. Ed, I only steal from the best, my friend, so thank you very much. Nothing says a party like 1 o'clock on a Sunday, am I right? All right. There are varying degrees of that joke right now. Some people are like, what does he mean by that to, it's Sunday? All right. In addition, I just was given an announcement prior to coming up here that there is an open bar. Oh, no, wait. Sorry, that's a typo. The bar is open. Gosh, the importance of sentence structure there, huh? We're about ready to use those emergency exits. Ooh, baby. Someone like that more than the rest of you. All right. Our first inductee here this afternoon is Nashua Athletics Coordinator and former Athletic Director Al Harrington. We are honored to have announced Al's induction into the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame prior to his recent passing. Mr. Harrington lost his courageous battle with Alzheimer's disease this past April. I think Coach Maz said it best when he said, "It's never easy to replace a legend unless you become one yourself." Taking over for Buzz Harvey in 1977, Al served as AD until 2001. My guess is that 100% of the folks sitting here today were positively impacted in some way or another by Al. He started the summer camps through the Nashua Parks and Rec. How many of you did summer camps through the Nashua Park Rec during your time here as a student athlete? He oversaw the first ever construction of the first ever weight room at Nashua High School. How many of you used that weight room in your time here? He was an original member of the Friends of Nashua High Athletics, and he was instrumental in starting the original Hall of Fame that honors him here today. He is a member of the Boston Latin School Hall of Fame, the Bentley University Hall of Fame, and the Holman Stadium Sports Legends Hall of Fame. Please be sure to read his bio in the program, as it is truly impressive. Let's take a closer look at the legendary former athletic director of the Nashua School District, Mr. Al Harrington.
So growing up as a child of my dad being an athletic director means lots of sports, lots of 5 a.m. swim practices in the middle of the winter, summer, fall, running, weightlifting, everything sports, right? That was ingrained in us, which is great. I think that has made me a competitive and strong person to date. So yeah, I'd say lots of sports.
He wasn't really, he didn't brag about things, and he didn't really pedestalize what he did. He kind of just did it. It was almost like a humble way he did things. He always had his hands in the Friends Club. He did the booster clubs. I know he worked with the Park and Recs a lot. And then he had the BU Hall of Fame, or, the high school Hall of Fame, the BU, what else was he? Bentley College Hall of Fame. So, I mean, he had, obviously the track record is there for his records and stuff, but he was very humble about it.
Also, the fun things, the Friends of Nashua High Athletics was huge, right? Back in the day when Joey and I were in high school. He started that program, which got us into like an awesome weight room when we were, Nashua High One school. We had so much fun with Nashua High Athletics, the Friends. They would be Adam Gureckis, Frank Ilsikis, right? Those guys that are no longer here, like, were great. They had so much fun selling Christmas trees and being part of that, which was a huge part of Nashua High. So yeah, it's just, he's definitely built a legacy for sure.
He loved golfing. We went to Red Sox games. We did, we went to certain sporting events. He was still sports all the time. He'd read a book about sports. He'd read a book about coaching. And I just remember, like, damn, what else is there? It was just sports,
Yeah, definitely golf was huge because we live obviously on the backyard and butts the country club. So a lot of golf, a lot of country club time, a lot of watching golf. I'd be like, Dad, I feel like I'm watching paint dry on the wall. Like, how can you watch this game, right? Like, a lot of that. He was active. He always loved going to dinner with my mom, my brother, and I. So we did a lot of surf dinners, country clubs out on the deck, just family time as well. So.
He was always at the school. He was there from 6 a.m. till 7 o'clock at night. It makes me feel proud that, he got acknowledgement, and, he still was, low key humble about it. But I know that, he had a big smile. Getting kids into programs, and, it was a different time, but he would go out of his way to get kids, to get into a sport that maybe didn't have the resources, and he would go out of his way to get these kids in. And even in high school, these kids would come up to me and say, "Hey, your dad's awesome." And I would have never gotten on the team, or I would have never had the shoes to play basketball, or I would have never had basketball to practice. But I know there's so many aspects to it, but that was one of the huge ones. I remember as a kid, as my dad would go out of his way to really help people, and to get them into the program. Even if they had a bad grade, he would do what he could to reach out to the teachers to get them in. And he just knew how important sports are as part of a growing process is, going back to teamwork and, leadership and skills and schedule and being on time. And that just like is so important. And I think he just was well-rounded with that stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, here to accept Mr. Harrington's award on his behalf are his children, Chrissy Rinn and Joe Harrington. Please give it up for 2025 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame member, Mr. Al Harrington. I've had the opportunity to work for some fantastic athletic directors in my time here, 28, 30 years, something like that here in the district. And I ran into one of the athletic directors. Where's Angelo Fantasia? Is Angelo here? Where's Angelo up in the back there? Great to see Angelo. My best Angelo story, whenever I would go into the office to complain about something or to say, hey, I don't like the way this happened at practice or that happened at a game, Angelo would kind of put his hands behind his head and he'd lean back in his chair and then he'd lean forward and he'd reach into his pocket and he'd take his keys and he'd go, there you go, pal. And so that kind of put in perspective for me what being an athletic director was like in the city of Nashua. Inevitably, I would just reverse direction and get out of there as quickly as I could. Angelo, great to see you here today, my friend. Welcome back. Our next inductee is Nashua Athletics contributor Diane Keene. Absolutely. In order to navigate a huge undertaking like the split of one of New England's largest high school sports programs, you need somebody in the trenches. Somebody behind the scenes to do the work that many folks never even considered. Long before the lights go on or the games are played, Nashua South Administrative Assistant Diane Keene was a force to be reckoned with. She realized you couldn't fill today's sails with yesterday's wind. She was always ahead of the curve and always did it with a positive demeanor and a smile on her face. She was the foundation of the organization, as she, along with formerly mentioned Nashua North Administrative Assistant Karen Burnett, was a stabilizing and calming force. She helped to break in 5 athletic directors and 3 athletic coordinators during her tenure from 2004 to 2016. Talk about a lot of moving parts. Even in retirement, Diane continues to give back, whether as a volunteer at the food pantry at St. Joe's Church in Nashua or the Church of the Good Shepherd Hospice House in Florida. One thing is certain, though, wherever Diane Keene is, she will always bleed purple, and maybe even just a little bit of blue. Let's take a closer look at Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame inductee, Diane Keene.
I feel like I was involved with the Nashua athletic community long before I was even part of the staff there. When I first was hired at the high school in 1993, I was working in the special ed department and is a one-on-one para. And several times my husband and I would take one of my students to either a game on Friday night or one of the basketball games. And the kids loved it because a lot of the coaches were also their teachers at the high school. And back then, none of us knew, or I didn't, what unified sports was. I didn't even think it was a thing. And so the kids, we'd bring the kids and they loved it because they could see their coaches out there. And I always felt that even though physically they weren't active on a team because we didn't know what unified sports was, it was their way to be involved in sports. They would see their classmates and their teachers and they would be cheering and supporting those teams, and it was just a fun night for all of us. And it also gave me a chance to meet some of the staff and get to know some of them. And fast forward to 2004 when the high school split, I was fortunate enough that the coaches put in a good word for me, and I was blessed to be hired as the first official South athletic administrator or assistant administrator, March 14th, 2016. And my husband and I were at the boys' varsity basketball game. And it was senior night. And Coach Maz called me out of the bleachers down on the floor. And I was presented with a beautiful bouquet of flowers. All the kids, all his players lined up. And got a handshake from them, and they all came and gave me a hug and a handshake and congratulated me on my retirement, because I was about 3 months away from leaving the athletic department. So that will forever be one of probably the best memory I had. To be inducted to the Nashua Athletic Hall of Fame, I'm so blown away still. I mean, I am so grateful. I am humbled. I just feel like all I ever did was just come to work every day and do the best job that I could. But I felt always so supported, and I felt so valued in my job. So I guess I did an okay job, but it is just an honor that I never ever expected. I am just totally blown away, and I'm so grateful to all of to you, Lisa, and to all of the committee that nominated me. The two people for sure that have mentored me and guided me through my lifetime, obviously, I know it sounds like a cliche, and it's definitely my folks. My two parents were probably the best role models that anyone could ever ask for. My dad owned his own business and dealt with a lot of people, and always told us, be compassionate, be respectful and kind and caring to people. You never know what people are dealing with, and never judge a book by its cover. Always just respectful of whoever you're dealing with. And I'm hoping I pass that on to my own kids. I think they're wonderful traits, and we tried to live by all of those. So I hope I pass it on to my kids, and I hope I treated anybody that came into our office, or the kids, or whether it was a parent, anybody that came into our office or called on the phone. I hope that I showed those attributes to the people that were there. Some of the skills that I learned from the kids, the student athletes, was just watching them interact with their own teams. And it's not a one-person deal. It's you learn to work together and respect each other. And, it was fun to watch the kids as that evolved, coming into some of them were not real confident about their skills when they're coming onto a sport. But, you get the kids encourage you, to stick with it, and just to watch them work together. I mean, they almost look like a family at the end of the season. They pat each other on the back, and they're all there for each other for the most part. So that was fun to watch that happen as the season progressed. So that was kind of a nice lesson that I saw almost every season. You'd see the kids get together and get real close by the time the season was done. So yeah, the message that I think I'd love to give, especially to the student athletes. The coaches certainly don't need any they don't need any suggestions from me, because they do a wonderful job. The coaches are great. I loved working with every one of them. But the kids, I always encourage the kids too. A lot of them don't have the confidence, I think, to join a team. And let's face it, your time at the high school or in college is so short. And even if you're not too confident, join a team, try it, at least go to tryouts, try it, to sit back and watch it happen and have regrets later on in your life that maybe you'd want to do a sport. That's the thing. I think that try it out, you just never know, and you might come to love it. So yeah, just encourage the kids to try something that they've never done before. They might be pleasantly surprised. So that would be my suggestion to them. Without a doubt, and I know I'm biased, but that's okay. I think that we had the best staff in the whole state of New Hampshire, and I loved coming to work every single day. We had wonderful. I think we were a well-oiled machine, pretty much. I mean, we were lucky. You and Nate in the office, and Karen and the other AC at Nashua North. I never regretted coming to work. It was the most wonderful experience. And after coming out of special ed, and then coming right into the office, for me, I felt like it was a full circle thing. I was so pleased and so honored to be working in that department. And that's where I felt that I was always destined to be. So it was a wonderful way to end my working career.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 inductee, Diane Keene.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Diane lends credence to the adage that if you enjoy what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. And there it is. Yeah. And along the lines of the purple and the whole thing with Nashua South and Nashua North, she bled purple, no doubt about it. Now, maybe on occasion she would come up to me when North was playing South, because I started at Nashua High School and wore purple, and then I went over to Nashua North, and she would come over and say to me, I hope South wins, but I hope you do okay too. So thank you for that, Diana. Much appreciated. Oh, boy. Our next inductee is Nashua Senior High School coach Bill Hardy. Perhaps no other coach. Yeah, absolutely. Perhaps no other coach in recent memory was as well known for his devotion to his players while still compiling winning seasons as Coach Hardy. During his time as the head football coach for Nashua Senior High School, Coach Hardy led the Panthers to an impressive 50-win and only 10-loss record, including 6 playoff appearances. And now, the playoffs back then, it was just a 4-team format, so you automatically were in the semifinals when you would make those playoffs. And Coach Hardy won 3 semifinal games and finally got over the hump, winning the state title in 1997 in a rematch against Londonderry High School. Many of you might remember that 15-0 slugfest was played in clay and mud and snow-filled historic Holman Stadium. The memories from that game will be told for generations to come. As mentioned in his bio, the true mark of Coach Hardy's success are the many former coaches and players who sit amongst us today. His impact as a teacher, a coach, a mentor, an employer, and a friend knows no limits. He would do anything for you, and in return, all that he asked was for you to be your best, and maybe spend a couple of hours on a roof on Sunday. Coach Hardy always had his players' back. His passion to work with young people and make them positive contributors to society is not lost on this room. If you look around, you can see the faces of those whom he impacted as students and as athletes. His most prized award here today will not be a picture on the wall or a trophy in a case. His true award are the people that are here today in support of him. They each have a Bill Hardy story to tell. His players would run through walls for him. In a lot of ways, his business, Hardy Builders, did more than just build cabinets, decks, and roofs. It built young men and young women. Let's take a closer look at Coach Bill Hardy.
I came to Nashua mainly because of another gentleman that's getting inducted this year, Mr. Al Harrington. My wife had been teaching in Nashua for 5 years while I was coaching in a small college. I brought a football team down from Keene, New Hampshire to play Elm Street Middle School, and Mr. Harrington met me at the football field after the game and said, "Hey, I know you're Mary's husband. I might have something for you, an opening here in the spring. Why don't you give me a call?" And I did, and I spent 1 year in Keene, and then I spent the next 18 years in Nashua coaching football, and I loved every level that I was at, and got to be around some wonderful coaches. We did, in our 3rd year together, we won the state championship in football. In 1997, we had a terrific group of sophomores 2 years prior to that, including the current head coach, Chad Zabolis, and another inductee this year, Aaron Gureckis. And those kids, along with Eric Tivitot, Jeff Conroe, they worked incredibly hard. Their first year, they made the playoffs. And back then, only 4 teams made the playoffs. And then their second year, we lost in the state championship game to Londonderry. And then the 3rd year, we beat Londonderry in what is now known as the Mud Bowl. And that was probably the highlight of it. Growing up, I had a wonderful gentleman named Teddy Bonner from Newark, New Jersey. It was a physical education teacher at Dag Hammarskjöld Middle School in East Brunswick. And he was just the first guy I really looked up to. Had him for 3 years, my family moved to Concord, Massachusetts, and I had a gentleman there named Everett Thorpe, Dooley Thorpe, who was my baseball coach, but he was more than that. He developed relationships with players that went far beyond just the athletic field. And then Coach Aylward, when he came up here from Tewksbury, it was like getting a Harvard education in football. It was my football knowledge was limited, and I was like a sponge around him. He just he was the smartest football guy I know. Coach Knight is someone that's about my age, you know, and we went through it together. He's been a wonderful guy. Coach Neville, who was on our staff, was just like Coach Aylward, just a wealth of knowledge, football knowledge. And we just lost one of the best guys we ever had on our coaching staff. Paul Duquette, sadly, had been with Coach Parity for years. And when I took over here, he came back on the staff, and he was just a guy you would have loved to have played for, you know. Well, football, you know, you limp away from football. It's the hardest. And if you choose to play this game, there's no other game like it. And you leave with an incredible work ethic to start with. You will always be willing to do whatever the hardest job is that someone can throw at you. And I truly believe that's the secret. That the game itself is so hard. You go from August, where it's brutally hot outside, to standing out there all by yourself in November with tape over the ear holes in your helmet to keep the wind out. And that alone makes you can check off the toughness box because you've gone through this sport. Keep going. I know it's harder in this time with social media and parents. They want parents involved more and more. We had a kid here, Cole IE, who made the Patriots and has a Super Bowl ring from the New England Patriots, and he rode his bike to school. So, you know, you never think that, you know, someone that successful started just like you did, but he did. Nowadays, it's getting tougher and tougher, and I hope that, you know, I hope the coaches don't let that deter them, because it's a wonderful profession. The kids make it. The kids are the heroes. We used to get together as a coaching staff after the season, and some of the year 7 and 8, we were a playoff team, but we thought we did a better job in some of those years that we weren't necessarily the state champions. Moved kids around. Remember, when it was one high school, you had 3 junior high schools all funneling into this school, and so you got 3 quarterbacks, you had 6 running backs, you had 3 fullbacks. Every year you got a new crop of kids, and they had all played these positions, so you had to kind of do a little bit of chess moves, and you had to sell a kid on maybe playing a position that he wasn't used to or something. The winning, which was how you kept your job in this city back then. It also attracted some great coaches here that that did put that winning on a pedestal. I guess the best part of it was the kids, one, and being around a group of coaches that you really enjoyed being with.
Coach Hardy is unable to join us here today, but I know he'll be watching out on ETV, Nashua ETV. Coach, congratulations accepting the award on Coach Hardy's behalf as former Nashua South football coach. Coach Scott Knight. And just because Coach Hardy's not here, I'm still going to tell every joke that I was going to tell about him in the first place. So I don't want anybody to think, because that's like half my script. Oh, and by the way, in case many of you are wondering, Cole actually rode his bike here today, this afternoon as well. Right, Cole? 100%? Yeah. Very good. There are so many Coach Hardy stories that we can tell. For example, I can't tell that one. You know what? I'm sure you have them, and you'll talk about them at your time here in the banquet, so just have at it. Yeah, good stuff. He's actually the first person I met here in Nashua. I had a meeting with actually Hall of Famer Coach Al Neville that I missed. I had never been to Nashua before in my life, and I graduated from the University of New Hampshire, and Coach Neville offered me a job to come coach at Nashua High, and I got lost on the way to Nashua High, and my first experience was watching a girls basketball game, and I walked in and I was looking for Coach Neville, and they said, well, Coach Neville left a while ago. I said, I missed that meeting. And the first gentleman that I met was Coach Hardy, sitting in the basketball bleachers watching one of Coach Fagula's teams. He was wearing his ripped purple sweats, a sweatshirt that had paint on it, and a hat, and I was like, excuse me, sir, can you tell me where Coach Hardy is? And he said, it depends who's asking. And so, but it was awesome, and Coach Hardy always said, you know what, he's not one of us, but let's bring him along for the ride anyway. So, Coach, thank you so much for bringing me. It was a great journey. Who else we got here? Let's see. Oh, we got Nate Mazerol here. Where's Coach Maz? Over there on the music. Yeah. Coach Maz wrote all of the bios in the programs that you're seeing here today. So thank you, Coach Maz, for that. And he's, by the way, he's living proof that ChatGPT is not just for students, it's actually for teachers as well. So Coach Maz, thank you so much for doing that. And great segue into our next inductee. It's a former teacher and head boys basketball coach, George Noucas. Absolutely, Coach Nuke. From 1983 to 1997, Nuke, as he's affectionately known, patrolled the sidelines of the Belanger Gym, winning Class L titles in 1986 and 1991. His impressive record of 169 wins versus only 89 losses is only surpassed by the all-time Panther greats that he coached, with names like Madigan, Barry, Gondek, and of course Mazerol contributing to the Panther greats' coaching legacy. Coach Nuke was on one sideline or another, forget this, for over 56 years. That is absolutely worthy. His paw prints span from Nashua High to Manchester West to Daniel Webster to Riviere, from Tilton Prep to Plymouth State University. His basketball pedigree is extensive, impressive, and second to none. Couple that with teaching for over 30 years in the Nashua School District, and you can see why Coach Noucas now resides in the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a closer look at Coach George Noucas.
I became involved with athletics in 1970. Ken Parity was my high school football coach and had become the football coach in Nashua, offered me a job coaching football with him, so that was and teaching phys ed, so that's how I got here. The Hall of Fame is kind of humbling. There's a lot of great athletes and a lot of legendary coaches over the history of Nashua High, so it's a little humbling, and at the same time it's an honor to be selected to join those people. Getting the varsity basketball job, I was a JV coach for 8 years, and in 1983, I got the varsity basketball job, so that was pretty memorable. And moving from double sessions at Elm Street, when they opened this school in 1976, was pretty memorable, because that double sessions were not a lot of fun. Ken Parity was my high school football coach, and then was the football coach here at Nashua High. Had a large influence on what I did. I learned a great deal about organization and those coaching and dealing with people in situations. And the second one was Coach Bob Brown, who's from Maine. I worked at his basketball camp for about 10 years, and he was very influential in helping form what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it in relation to basketball. And to this day, he and I are still very good friends, so I appreciate all of his help. One of the things that I learned was from all the coaches that I've been involved with over the years, there's a great deal you can learn from just watching people, what they say, what they do, how they do it, if they follow through, dealing with situations, because with high school kids, you never know what you're going to run into. If somebody breaks up with his girlfriend during the day, he's going to show up at practice and not be a happy camper. So, you know, you learn a lot of those kinds of deals, and you learn, as I said, you learn a great deal from watching and listening to other coaches and what they do and how they do it. You are at a school that has a tremendous history in athletics, and to be part of that, championships or not, it's an honor to play. It's an honor. When you war around the state, when people see purple and white, they automatically think of Nashua High School. So it's an honor to play here and coach here and win some championships here. But in general, just be part of this nice new school too. We beat Bishop Girton in 1986, and that was very memorable because they were undefeated going into the championship game in Durham, and we beat them by, I think, 1 point. So that was, especially because it's an inner city game, that was very memorable. And the 91 championship team, which Coach Mazerel was part of, he was one of my starters. That was a team that was very talented and had high expectations from the very beginning. So to end up winning the championship against a very good Merrimack team and exceeding what we had been, what expectations we had. So that was also memorable. And it was memorable when we lost in the championship game to Concord in 1987. So there's good and there's bad. But in general, coaching at Nashua High was a pleasure. I coached football for 10 years and participated as an assistant in some championship games there. So there's a lot of really good memories being in Nashua and being part of the history of Nashua.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame inductee, Coach Nuke, George Noucas. They don't build them like Coach Nuke anymore. Talk about longevity. The stories that he and Coach Hardy could tell us. They shared adjoining offices in the old Nashua High School, and any time I would go in there were two things that I could be rest assured would be there. There would be plays written all over the chalkboard of basketball plays, and then there'd be sawdust all over the floor for the rest of it, but that was the one constant. Congratulations, Coach Noucas. Who else we got here? Let's see here. Mike Susi. Where's Mike? There's Mike over there, the North Athletic Coordinator. That's right, the North Athletic Coordinator. He'll be leaving us in July to take the athletic director job at Pelham High School. That should go well. That's good. Good luck. Good luck there. I'm sure right now, though, there are two thoughts that are circulating around the table. The first one is, clearly it's nearly impossible to fill the shoes of former athletic coordinator Dante Lorendi. Right? There he is. Dante's here today. And second, who's Mike Susi? No, just kidding, Mike. We wish you all the best. Best of luck to you at Pelham High School. They got a good one, no question about it. Our next inductee is class of 2011 Nashua South High School student athlete, Caitlyn Ackerman. This 12-season standout student athlete excelled in volleyball, basketball, and lacrosse, earning all-state recognition in each sport. Perhaps most impressive is that she was voted team captain for all three sports, which is a testament to her leadership abilities. Her accomplishments extended past the playing fields and the hardwood, as Caitlyn was also a member of the Nashua South Athletic Leadership Council and a member of the Future Endeavors of America. This NHIAA scholar athlete volunteered at the Hunt Home Assisted Living Facility, the Nashua Soup Kitchen, and Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Nashua. One might say that this Hall of Famer is an even better human being than she was student athlete. Caitlyn won many awards during her time as a Purple Panther, including All-Area in the Telegraph, NHBCO All-State, Varsity Magazine Honorable Mention, and a two-time team MVP. Upon graduating, Caitlyn took her talents to Assumption College, where she had earned a full scholarship. Her continued success on and off the court is extremely impressive, as she was an Augustine Scholar for 2 years and the president of the Student Athletic Advisory Council. She was inducted into the TAU Honor Society for Human Services. Today, this Hall of Famer continues to give back to her community, whether volunteering or coaching. She shows us all how it is to be a first-rate human being. Let's meet Caitlyn Ackerman.
During my time at Nashua High South, I played volleyball, basketball, and lacrosse for 4 years. To be inducted into the Hall of Fame is a really great honor because I really enjoyed my time playing basketball. I felt like I had a big impact on the school and the community, and it was a really great time in my life. I would say scoring my 1,000th point was really huge, I think, for myself and my family and also my team. It hadn't been done yet since the schools had divided into two, and so it was a really big honor to kind of be the first. My parents, my mom and dad, they were the people that put me in sports, from a young age, and were taking me to all of the AU, all of the practices, all over the New England area and also outside of New England. My college basketball coaches, Carrie Fair and Coach Cahill, definitely helped evolve my game and who I was as a player, really learning to develop resilience and mental toughness in the game. And also making me a better player and really committing myself to the sport. Jennifer Hogan-Fay, Joe Mason, and Ian, they were pretty influential in my time here. I don't think that I would have got to college basketball without them and without necessarily, they believed in me and believed in my capacity and ability to be able to go to the next level. I learned that you're not always going to get it right the first time, and so you got to keep trying and moving forward, and practicing really does make a difference. Repetitive action to be able to improve whatever you are looking to do. So whether that's my game, whether that's at work, whether that's a goal that I set, being able to kind of be resilient and not going to get it right the first time. So keep doing that. Taking care of yourself, I think, is a big one. There's so much noise in the world, whether that's within your friend group, whether that's within your personal life or at work, but making sure to always kind of hone back to who you are, what your values are, and who you want to be. I think that really came and shone through during sports as well. I would say that to kind of believe that anything is possible, and also that this chapter of life in high school is important, but also such a small chapter in the greater scheme of things. You're going to move on, you're going to go to college, you're going to experience 1,000 more things, and so what you do in high school doesn't define you, but it's definitely a imperative chapter, so take it seriously and also know that you're going to do great things afterwards. I made a lot of friends. I think that my community here at the high school was really huge. I met, not necessarily here prior to, but developed a lifelong friend with my best friend Tabia and her family, and that kind of has taken us 20 plus years onwards. And so the community that I had here within my friends, their families, also teachers and past other kind of school personnel and professionals that I've been able to follow who kind of helped my career has been really awesome. Jerry Holland, another one who kind of helped keep me playing, keep me healthy through PT and stuff like that, is another kind of big one. Bill Hardy, who's also getting inducted. He was my middle school gym teacher, but also played a pretty big part on just kind of being an athlete and what it means and stuff like that. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 Hall of Fame inductee, Caitlyn Ackerman. during those years at Nashua North, we would often obviously cross over and have the Battle of the Bridge against Nashua South. And because Caitlyn was a year-round athlete, every season it was commonplace to hear the kids talking in phys ed class and so forth. Oh, we're going to play Caitlyn today. We're going to play Caitlyn today. And one of the things that I remember quite vividly was when she scored that 1,000th point, and they're talking about, oh, do you think we can keep her to under 25 tonight? You think we can keep her under 30 tonight? And it was just really cool to there was a respect there, a mutual respect between the kids at North and the kids at South at that time. And I know they thought the world of Caitlyn, and it was great to see. So congratulations again. That's fantastic. Speaking of a name that you would hear a lot, Eric Tibbetot's here. Where's Tibba? Eric, where are you at, buddy? He just left. Well, we're still going to get him. Eric Tibbetot, for those of you that don't know, I know he'd spoken to me earlier about that he had to leave early, but arguably one of the best athletes I've had the pleasure to coach. And he is not yet in the Hall of Fame, but after seeing a lot of his friends and former teammates here today, and knowing a nomination is only a few computer clicks away and written sentences away, one thing is certain: he's going to be waiting a long time. But guys, seriously, go see Coach Mazarol. He's good with the Chat GPT. He can help you all out there. It's good. High school education at its finest. All right. Our next inductee is class of 2009 Nashua High School North student athlete Shalyn Johnson. Shalyn is unable to join us here this weekend, but that doesn't take away from her dominance that she displayed and the accolades that she garnered as a Nashua North track and field standout athlete. While the school was still in its infancy and trying to establish an identity for itself, Shalyn proved that she was up to the task. At one point, Shalyn held 17 school records. Now think about that. There's only 18 events in outdoor, right? Shalyn had, between indoor and outdoor, 17 school records in events ranging from the 55-meter dash all the way to the half mile, the 800-meter run. Her range was far-reaching, not just in the distances she excelled at, but with the recruiting that she did to help build a program. In 2009, her coach Russ Carden's team had 75 track and field athletes on the roster. Now that's post-split, 75 young ladies, many of whom attributed their participation to the encouragement of Shalyn. She was an ambassador to the sport. She was a two-time state champion in the 300-meter hurdles and a perennial all-state member in the Nashua Telegraph. Shalyn's accomplishments spread beyond the track as she was the class president and consistently a high honor roll student. Her Hall of Fame photo will now join her championship plaques in the athletic wing of Nashua North. Let's meet student athlete Shalyn Johnson.
I was the girls' track and field coach at Nashua North from the year it opened after the high school split in 2004 until 2013. I'm also a teacher in the district. I teach physical education at Maine Dunstable Elementary School. I was Shalyn's winter and spring track coach at Nashua North from 2006 until she graduated in 2009. Shalyn was the definition of the perfect student athlete. She got good grades, National Honor Society type kid, and was a phenomenal athlete. In addition to that, just tremendous leadership skills. I think at one point she was president of the school council, student council. So she was just a well-rounded student athlete. Some of the records that Shalyn had was, she was more of a sprinter, middle distance runner. I think at one point though, and I was counting them the other day, I think she had 17 school records when she graduated. In the indoor track, she held the school record in the 55-meter dash, the 55 hurdles, 300 meters, 600, and I believe the 1,000. And in spring track, I think at one point she held the school record in the 100, 200, 400 meter, 800 meter, 100 hurdles, 300 hurdles, and the long jump. What I would say the biggest reason I nominated Shayen was just the combination of leadership skills and her accomplishments on the track. in addition to just being an amazing track athlete, she was even a better person, true leader. When she was a senior in high school, I had 75 kids on the track team. I don't think the track team's ever been bigger than that since the high school split. And I just remember a lot of kids telling me they were there because Shalyn told them to come try track. And just kids wanted to be around her, just a true leader. Huge, huge honor to have a former athlete be inducted. I had to step away from coaching in 2013. My kids were getting a little older and they were starting to do their sports, their youth sports, and I wanted to coach them and be home a little more, so I had to step away from coaching. And I just feel like this, from a personal level, kind of puts a little closure to the coaching career. In addition to that, though, it's a huge, well-deserved honor for Shalyn. She, like I said, she was just a true leader on and off the track. And in addition to her huge accomplishments on the track, just an even better person and leader off the track.
Here to accept the award on Shalyn's behalf is one of her former teammates and current Nashua North cross country and track and field head coach, Renee Archer. It's great to see Coach Archer here, and also Coach McIntyre of South. Where's Coach McIntyre? She's right back there at the table. They're sitting next to each other. They both teach together at Nashua South, and Coach McIntyre coaches 3 sports at Nashua South, and Renee coaches 3 sports at Nashua North, proving once again that you can dislike one another's teams, but you can still get along when it counts. Am I right? Yeah, absolutely. Tom, where's Tom King? Notice I didn't say hate. We reserved that for Pinkerton, right? Oh, I know. Remember, long before there was Spygate and there was Deflategate, there was Hategate. But there's a great picture of Coach O'Reilly and Coach Hardy in the Telegraph from last year's Division I hoop title game that was in Tom King's article today. In fact, Coach O'Reilly said he loved Coach Hardy, and he left this video message of congratulations to Coach Hardy that we'll show right now. No, I'm just kidding. He hates us too. All right. Our next inductee is the class of 1999 Nashua Senior High School student athlete, Jamison Jamie Franks. Jamie did it all. She was a 4-sport athlete, excelling in volleyball, basketball, indoor and outdoor track. She was a true team player, but even more than her in-game accolades, Jamie was like another coach on the court or field. She was a throwback to the old school toughness, and those intangibles rubbed off on all of her teammates. The successes from one season to the next, one team to the next is remarkable. Think about this. In the fall, Jamie's volleyball team her senior year was 19-0 undefeated state champs. In the winter, her basketball team was 26-0 undefeated state champs. And in the spring, she qualified for 3 throwing events, the shot, the disc, in the javelin, where she would be named the team MVP. Unfortunately, the team was only runner-up, and many blame the coach for that one. Sorry, Jamie, my fault. She was a many-time All-State and All-Area Award recipient. She was a member of the #1 in New England and #4 in the East girls basketball team, making the all-tournament team at the Shake and Bake National Tournament. She qualified for 3 events for the New England Track and Field Championships, and she was a highly respected captain for her teams. All this while earning Student of the Month honors and organizing a fundraiser for a classmate. She continued playing basketball in college for Jen Rosati at the University of Hartford, where she was an America East Rookie of the Week and also honored as a scholar athlete. She led the Hawks to their first ever America East Championship and a berth in the NCAA tournament. Let's meet Hall of Famer Jamie Franks.
I feel incredibly honored to be inducted into the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. During my high school athletic career, I participated in varsity volleyball, basketball, as well as winter and spring track. I wasn't, necessarily the best at each respective sport, but I was naturally a little bit of a beast and was willing to put in the work to allow our teams to, be successful. Looking at the list of previous inductees, as well as, those members of our current class, I feel incredibly blessed to have relationships with a lot of them, spanning from when I was a young girl attending summer camps and all the way through my high school career. After so many years, it's funny the things you remember and are most proud of looking back at your high school athletic career. For me, it's not necessarily personal awards or accolades that leave the biggest impression, but really smaller things like, setting the pick for Jen Brickey that allowed her to get her 1,000th point, or in volleyball, making the block that ended our match and solidified our Class L championship. From track, it was the pre-meet rituals of telling jokes and the, companionship and support that we had for each other, even though we were competing in individual events. And then, learning that I was the first Nashua High female athlete to make it to the Meet of Champions in all 3 throwing events. Those are incredibly special memories that I keep with me to this day. Foremost, without the love and support and sacrifices made by my parents and brothers, I wouldn't be the person I am today. My parents, like many others, worked incredibly hard and made sacrifices to provide us with opportunities to, get exposure and participate in different activities so that we could really learn what we loved. I happen to gravitate towards sports, taking after my mom. Just kidding, Dad. And when a child participates in sports, it's not cheap, especially when they join AAU teams that involve a lot of travel. My parents, like many others, helped us fundraise, get sponsorships for tournaments, and kind of pivoted relentlessly so that we had the opportunity to participate and grow as athletes and people. I'd also be remiss not to mention how incredibly lucky I was from a young age to have really remarkable coaches, and that continued all the way through my high school career. Involving yourself or your children in the athletic community have impacts that reach far beyond participation in the sport. The mental skills that you learn from participating in sports are things that you continue to use throughout your adult life. Things like teamwork, how to recognize strengths and weaknesses in others and be able to use that information in a positive manner to help elevate other people and bring people together. It's important to realize that those lessons and skills are critical to develop both during times of success and failure. Having the opportunity to be an athlete exposes you to so many lessons and skills that really help prepare you to continue into and throughout adulthood. If I had one message to give to the student athletes of today, it would be to diversify yourself and really take the time to enjoy and absorb all the moments and lessons that come with being involved in high school athletics. As a young lady that grew up playing a lot of basketball for a very long time, I can tell you that by the time I reached high school, I needed something else. Making the decision to participate in both volleyball and track allowed me to not only learn something new and build relationships with different people, but really find joy in athletics again, away from all of the pressures that came with focusing on basketball for most of my life. Competing in multiple sports allowed me to create new avenues of positivity and opportunities that otherwise wouldn't have existed if I had dedicated myself to only one sport. To the coaches, I would say that your sacrifices don't go unnoticed, and thank you for everything that you do for all of the student athletes. Their commitment goes well beyond the scheduled games and practices. They're willing to arrive early, stay late, be a mentor and a guide and really help the student athlete navigate both the great and difficult things that life can bring. All of this is a sacrifice that they willingly give, spending time away from their families in order to invest in the lives of so many other people. So special shout out to Coach Conley, Coach Sipka, Coach Stumpy. It's really hard to pin down a single special moment during my time as a Purple Panther, but in general, I have to mention the success of Nashua High Athletics during my senior year. We had multiple men's and women's teams that won the Class L championship that year. I myself was lucky enough to be part of 2 undefeated seasons that year, both in volleyball and basketball, with incredibly talented teammates, many of which went on to receive college scholarships and play in various sports at the collegiate level. We worked really hard to come together and accomplish our goals of being Class L champions, and we're able to create some really special memories. So I'm incredibly grateful for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame inductee, Jamie Franks. Jamie talked about competing in multiple sports, not just concentrating on just one. And I think a lot of kids get involved with just narrowing things down sometimes too much. And Jamie's a perfect example of, trying different things, meeting new people, getting different experiences. And I'm happy to have been a part of that. It actually almost got me fired. Actually, your dad, Mr. Harrington, the late, great John Fagul, the head girls basketball coach, and Jamie, one Saturday morning, they had a practice, and we were on our way to a track meet, and I ran into Jamie, and I said, hey, would you like to come throw the shot put indoors today at UNH? And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so she got on the bus, and she threw, and I got a phone call the next day from your dad, ripping me up one side, down the other, and then I had to call and apologize to Coach Fagula, and I just was like, man, it was awful. But I'm glad you came to that meet and you had a good time, and times were different back then, boy. Yep, can't use the language in that phone call. Who else we got here? Femi IE is here, everybody. Femi IE, Femi. Yeah, I got nothing to say about him. He's good. Femi's good. Our next inductee is class of 1994 Nashua Senior High School student athlete Sarah Neville Guadiano. Now, all of the bios written in the program are extremely impressive. No mistake. Make sure you read those. They're extremely impressive. However, Sarah's really stands out as her athletic achievements and her classroom excellence took her all the way to the Naval Academy in Annapolis. Sarah was a 3-sport athlete. Yeah, absolutely. Sarah was a 3-sport athlete on championship level teams for soccer, basketball, and track and field. She was a starting goalie for 2 years in soccer, a 3-year starter and captain her senior year in basketball, and a 2-time Class L state champ in the long and the triple jumps, also placing in both at the New Englands. Her teams won 4 state titles, 2 in basketball, 2 in track and field during her time at Nashua, and she was named the Female Athlete of the Year as a senior. This National Honor Society member and French National Honor Society member took her talents to the Naval Academy, where she competed in both soccer and track and field. In 1998, she graduated from the United States Naval Academy and attended UNH for her master's, where she was honored with the Holloway Entrepreneur Award. She then proudly served her country in the U.S. Navy for the next 16 years in Sicily and in Naples, Italy. Upon her retirement as a lieutenant commander, she still holds a post as a member of the Naval Reserves. Let's meet Lieutenant Commander Sarah Neville Guadiano.
I graduated high school in 1994, and my family's been very involved in athletics, and so I played basketball, soccer, and ran track while I was there in Nashua, at Nashua High School. So specifically, when I think about track, which was probably my best sport, I think about Pauline Albert, and I think about the impact that she had on kids of all ages, I think, and coming into that and meeting that tough love kind of coaching style, really appreciated that. John Pagula, playing basketball for John Pagula. I remember when I was in, I think it was the 7th grade when Nashua High School was the national champions for high school basketball, women's basketball, and what an honor that was to make the team and be able to play for him. Those are the two coaches that really stand out to me. When I was running track in the 10th grade, I had never tried high jump because I was a long jumper. And just a meet before some kind of qualification meet. And I said, let me try the triple jump. I've never tried it before. And I did a practice jump, and I came really close to whatever was qualifying without having done the sport. And so some of my teammates convinced Coach Albert to put me in the triple jump for the next meet. And so I was able to qualify for states at that meet, the last meet of the season. And then that year I ended up winning states in triple jump, just kind of on a whim, I think. And so I think that was pretty memorable. My parents would definitely come to mind. I grew up in a pretty strict household, and everybody played sports, whether you really necessarily wanted to or not. You were sort of forced to try them. And so I think that my parents, I can think of my dad specifically. He was an athlete himself. Just really the idea of being a hard worker. So specifically in basketball, I couldn't shoot to save my life. I was not a good shooter. I wasn't a great basketball player. But he would always say, you're going to get playing time if you can focus on defense, because it's the thing that kids don't want to focus on. So get out there in the yard and practice shuffling back and forth. Let's go out there and we'll have you practice playing defense. And so I think that mentality has really helped me about just being a hard worker. Al Harrington, and just didn't know him well, but just being there, I think at basketball games when perhaps in girls basketball there weren't a ton of fans, or girls soccer there weren't a ton of fans, just being there cheering the team on. I just remember his presence being exciting. Well, I'm really an advocate. I think sports keep kids out of trouble, specifically. And so things that I learned, it taught me. When I think back to being in high school and what I learned in high school, I actually don't go to the classroom. My parents forced me to get good grades in order to play sports, so I give them credit for that. But I really go back to lessons that I would have learned on the field or about working hard in a practice. I remember specifically John Fagula not allowing people, if you came in late to school, you had to sit out the practice. And if you missed school, you certainly weren't playing in a game. And it didn't matter if it was your birthday or you had a family trip, or, the idea was you make a commitment to the team, then you're going to be there for the team. You're going to put in the work with the team. And, that's how he ran his team. And I really appreciated that. I moved on from Nashua to go into the military. I went to the Naval Academy, and certainly a lot of those skills of discipline and structure, specifically that I think I learned in high school from John Fagula and Pauline Albert. I think it's exciting to be inducted to the National Hall of Fame. I left Nashua to go to the Naval Academy. Then I moved overseas. Then I moved to Washington, D.C., and then finally I found myself here in Connecticut. So I have not been back in Nashua. So I don't live in Nashua. But I appreciate it because it was a great trip, I think, down memory lane, if you will, and just to think about all those skills and people who poured into me, specifically athletics. Like I said, in athletics, I think of coaches much more than teachers in my experience when I was at Nashua High School. as really impacting my life. And so I think it's just an honor to be with some other folks whose names I do know, who I think were much better athletes than I was. To coaches, I would say you're making a difference. I think don't underestimate the difference that you might be making. I think for a lot of coaches, I think you're teaching some life skills to kids. I think you're teaching them about discipline, structure, accountability, teamwork, and I think all of those leadership lessons will transfer really well into their real world when these kids grow up. So I think they're really impactful. I think coaches are really impactful. And I think to high school students, well, first of all, I would not have gone to the Naval Academy based on academics alone. There is no doubt in my mind. I was not an academic total rock star. And so I think sports can be a great way out. They can be a gateway to your future. I think about the fact that I graduated college with zero debt, and that's today is more rare. And so I think thinking about what kind of opportunities sports may bring to you, again, with the hard work and dedication. And are you giving up something short term, maybe to come home to hang out with your friends for the long term gain? And I would argue that that's a great value.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame inductee, Sarah Neville Guadiano. By the way, a little side note here, Sarah now owns and operates a Chick-fil-A franchise in Connecticut. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's good stuff. And you know, that means you have a lot in common with Tom King. Where's Tom? Tom loves Chick-fil-A. Right, Tom? Yeah, absolutely. Now, Tom is Nashua Telegraph royalty. It's a kingdom of one now, right, Tom?
I'm my own king.
What?
I'm my own king.
He's his own king. That's right. Tom does a great job and is a member of our board of directors. You can find his work online as well as in the newspaper. And I know what you're all thinking. What's a newspaper? Right? Pretty much. All right. All right. Tough crowd. All right. I got more. Also here, Hall of Famer Al Neville. Right? Al is here supporting his niece, Sarah. And rumor has it that he plans to sit down with our next inductee and go over the finer points of cover 3 on a cocktail napkin a little bit later. So that's a nice segue into our next inductee. Class of 1999 Nashua Senior High School student athlete Aaron Gureckis. The name Grekus is commonplace in the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. Aaron now rightfully joins his father Adam and his uncle John in the hall. As a three-sport athlete for Nashua Senior High School, Aaron excelled in football, basketball, and baseball. One could argue that Aaron could have picked up any sport and excelled in it. He was a two-time first-team All-State selection in both baseball and football, which is a rarity considering the many student athletes who competed for those coveted positions around the entire state. As a quarterback for the football team, Aaron was a player ahead of his time. Running and throwing at success rates beyond compare, he would dazzle his opponents and leave them shaking their heads in dismay. This rare combination of running and passing success is emblematic of today's spread offensive schemes. Aaron was running today's plays in yesterday's schemes, which really tells you and makes you wonder how he would thrive in today's game had he played today. In baseball, there wasn't a fly ball that stood a chance with him roaming the outfield. Buzz Harvey help you if you ever tried to tag up and test his arm. At the plate, he was a hitting machine and could stretch singles into doubles and sometimes triples with his speed on the base paths. As a basketball player, Aaron was a defensive stopper and a highlight film in transition. Perhaps Aaron's finest moment came in scoring the winning touchdown in the 1997 Division I football championship at historic Holman Stadium. Behind Femi IE, who we met earlier here this evening, Aaron plowed into the end zone from the 1-yard line. Then, for good measure, he dove in, running around the right side on the 2-point conversion. Aaron would go on to be selected in the late rounds of the Major League Baseball draft, but chose to pursue his college career at Jacinto Community College and then UConn Avery Point. Let's take a closer look at Aaron Gureckis.
It means a lot to me to be inducted to the Hall of Fame because my father's already inducted and my Uncle John was inducted, so I'd actually be the third Gureckis to be inducted. And my father passed away a couple years ago, and he would really love to see this right now. Most memorable experience would have to be winning the state championship for football. I was a junior with a team full of seniors at starters. It meant a lot. It was pretty cool. I have a lot of good memories about that. Definitely my father, one of them. He was tough. He pushed me a lot. But it was all for the right reasons in the long run. My second one is Bill Hardy, who was like a father to me too. I've known him since elementary school. I had him 1st through 6th grade at Dr. Chris. We would spend a lot of time together. He would get there at 7 in the morning and we would play basketball in the morning all the way till school started, which kids thought that was pretty cool. To the students, I'd say enjoy your time here because it goes by quick. I can't tell you how many times me and my friends have sat around and said, God, I wish I could go back to high school. I do things different, you know, like I even say it too. So enjoy your time because it goes by quick.
2025 National Athletics inductee, Aaron Gureckis. Congratulations.
I'm not a talker. I'm not a talker.
Okay. Congratulations. We try to tell a little story or a sidebar after each inductee comes up, and perhaps the turning point of that championship season that Aaron was talking about occurred after a rare 14-7 Week 2 loss to Manchester Central. I know, it hurts still. But it all centered around 3 Hall of Famers: Femi, Coach Hardy, and now Aaron. Many outside the program may not know this story, so I'll share it with you as I best remember it today. Coach Hardy had come out to the next practice after the loss with a baseball bat and an unparalleled anger. Could have been the end of a lot of coaching careers there. There are stories that stay with you for a lifetime, and as a young second-year coach, this is one of them for me. He challenged everyone to man up. He circled up the team and called Femi onto the field. He then said, if we want to be champions, somebody has to step up and play to Femi's ferocity. Without hesitation, Aaron Gureckis, the starting quarterback, stepped up opposite Femi, and the two battled at the line of scrimmage. And it was an intense battle. But at that point in time, it arguably was the turning point of our season, as it was a stalemate at that line. And for the kids to see their starting quarterback to go up against the all-state defensive tackle and stalemate him was proof that we were tough enough, we were good enough, and there was nobody that was going to beat us the rest of the way.
Drink one for the team. They told me not to hit you.
At any rate, it's taking a turn, isn't it? All right. At any rate, we didn't lose again the rest of the year, and Aaron dove into the end zone and into the history books, and Nashua High was the '97 state champs. So that was a great time. All right. Yep. And a lot of those players are here today, and a lot of the folks remember that time at Holman Stadium. It was quite a time. Now it's time to meet the 10th and final inductee of the afternoon. Our last inductee today is Nashua Senior High School class of 2004 student athlete Matt Sheehan. Matt excelled as both a football player and a track and field athlete as a member of the last class to graduate from Nashua Senior High School. As a football player, Matt was dominant in the trenches, earning a starting spot as a sophomore for head coaches Bill Hardy and Scott Knight. As a senior, Matt was a first-team All-Stater and a Telegraph All-Area player, as well as Nashua Offensive Lineman of the Year. He was named captain his senior year, and he helped lead his team to the 2003 state title game and later played in the New Hampshire-Vermont Shriners game. As a track and field athlete, Matt was dominant in the shot put and the discus. He was a 6-time individual Class L champion, twice in the indoor shot, twice in the outdoor shot, and twice in the discus. In addition, he was a member of 2 Nashua High School Class L team champions. In the shot put, Matt broke a 17-year-old Class L record with a heave of 58 feet, 5.5 inches, a record that still stands today. He holds the Nashua Senior High School discus record of 171 feet, 2 inches. And in addition to his Class L dominance, Matt ruled the state of New Hampshire as well as winning the Meet of Champions in the shot and disc in 2003, and then winning the New England discus title his senior year. At the Indoor Nationals, Matt finished 4th in the shot, earning him All-American status. He was a team MVP and was named the Nashua High Outstanding Male Athlete of the Year in 2004. He would go on to start as a scholarship athlete as a true freshman at Stonehill College. When his playing days ended, Matt transferred to UMass Dartmouth, where he would coach football and track and field. Let's take a closer look at Yarmouth Police Department Sergeant Matt Sheehan.
So my involvement with the National Athletic community was through my time as a football player and a member of the track and field team. I was fortunate enough to get a start early on. I was selected to play varsity football as a 9th grader while I was still at Elm Street. And then track and field shortly afterwards. Once football ended, I still was active and then jumped right into track and field while still at Elm Street. Being selected to the Hall of Fame is extremely humbling. I'm very grateful to receive this honor. It was unexpected. You know, I really got a lot out of my time as a Nashua High athlete. I look back at those times with very fond memories. You know, and being now part of this group is something it means a lot to me. So for track and field, it came in the spring season of my senior year at the Class L meet. When it was time for the shot put. So I had had a really good season, you know, I had had some good success, and I came into this meet with very high expectations. There was a chance I thought I could break the Class L record that had stood, I think, for, at that point, 17 years. As the shot left my hand, you know, it felt good. You know, we weren't supposed to look at it, I didn't look at it, but as, you know, my throw ended, and I looked back out into the, you know, the field, I could see the cloud of dust. I knew it was a good throw. And it wasn't until the officials called for the steel tape, which was, you know, what they used to make, you know, an official measurement, that I knew I had just broken that record. So that was a great moment for me. And for football, my senior year, again, Thanksgiving Day, my last, you know, football game, you know, as a Purple Panther against, you know, Bishop Girton. You know, I'm part of the last class, that class of 04. So, you know, going into that game, we were coming off a very tough loss to the state championship to Central. So to get ourselves back up for that game, it took a lot. You know, we had a very strong senior class, led by, you know, a great group of coaches. So coming to that game, there was some uncertainty because we didn't know if that was going to be the last Nashua Girton Turkey Bowl. We didn't know what the future held. We came together, we won, we lifted that trophy. What ended up being, you know, for the last time, for that storied rivalry of, you know, Nashua Girton Thanksgiving Day football. So for us to close the chapter of that rivalry, with a definitive exclamation point, proving once and for all that you play football in the city of Nashua, you wear purple and white, that was big. That's something I'm very proud of. So 3 people who really helped mold me into the man and the person I am. First is my father, Tim Sheehan. He's my Superman. I wouldn't have anything that I have without my dad. The lessons I learned, those foundational principles that he taught me growing up, those are all things I still use every single day, especially when it applies to Nashua athletics, is sacrifice. My dad was a police officer for over 40 years, and in my sophomore year, he got a promotion. He made captain, but he ended up having to move to a different department. He went from working in Lowell to Dartmouth, Mass. Dartmouth, Mass from Nashua is an hour and a half each way. He could have easily moved the entire family, my mother, father, and I could have moved to cut down that commute significantly, but he said no. He made that sacrifice and allowed me to finish out my career here at Nashua because he knew what that meant, what I was building. Secondly, Coach Bill Stumpf. Coach Stumpf I had obviously through football and also track and field. I really got to know Stumpy through my time as a thrower. His reputation and his record speaks for itself. Thrower after thrower that he has had, success year in, year out, and that just shows his dedication not only to the craft of throwing, but to molding student athletes. He didn't just care how you were as a thrower. It was an all-around thing. How are you as a person? How are you doing in school? I don't ever think I saw Coach Stump raise his voice once throughout my entire career as a National High athlete. So I am very grateful to have been, under his leadership and his stewardship of my athletic career. Third, Coach Scott Knight. Knowing Coach Knight, I actually started out as Mr. Knight. He was my gym teacher when I was at Ledge Street Elementary. And my dad is an old school weight room guy. I knew Coach Knight, competitive power lifter, so I'd pick his brain about weightlifting. And once I was able to get into the gym, when I was at Elm Street in the 8th grade, Coach Knight extended an invitation to me. Hey, take the sports bus, come up, let's see what you can do. And that really started my development, for football and track and field. It all starts in the weight room. And Coach Knight was my guide. My dad built that foundation. I grew up around steel plates and rusty 45-pound bars. And with Coach Knight, that just got taken to the next level. And I know there's a lot of people that can say the same thing. I owe so much of my time and experience and my success as a National High athlete to my dad, Coach Stump, and Coach Knight. And as I already kind of mentioned, thank you is not enough. I would have nothing without the 3 of them combined. Skills I learned from my time as an athlete, again, are like those foundational principles that I still use now as an adult and in my career as a police officer. Overcoming adversity, goal setting, teamwork, mental toughness, especially mental toughness. If you could make it through Coach Hardy double sessions, you can make it through just about anything. And so much of what I utilize in my career, I really got a glimpse of as an athlete. If I could tell any current Nashua athlete, it would be this. Don't let anyone take this away from you. Not a teacher, not a friend, not a significant other. The opportunity you have right now as a Nashua High athlete to represent yourself, your family, your city, and your school is unlike anything you will ever get again. Make the absolute best of this time that you have as a Nashua High athlete, because once it's done, it's done. It goes by very quick. My most special moment as a Nashua High athlete, I think, was just the ability to create everlasting bonds that I still have with former teammates and former coaches. Knowing I can pick up the phone, text people, call people, visit with people, and talk about these times, but also what's happening now is something I value greatly. So, just understand, it transcends just your time as an athlete. This is very special, but, I got so much out of it that I still think about, and, it's very meaningful to me even now as, I'm turning 40 in August. It's something that I'm extremely grateful for and always will be.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame inductee, Matt Sheehan. Matt talked about the championship game loss to Central and the last Turkey Bowl against Bishop Girton. And the game that I remember most is probably the one that took place before that. It was the 2003 Division I semifinal game against Manchester Memorial, arguably one of the coldest days in the existence of weather keeping. We played. Is that something? That's something, right? There's weather keeping. Did they do that? All right. We played them during the regular season, and they rolled us pretty good. They took us out behind the woodshed and just put a beating on us. And I remember in the locker room after the game, Coach Knight came in, and the whiteboard that was in the old locker room, he hit it with his fist, and I think he may have knocked some bricks loose, and it was terrible. But the rematch in the semifinals, Coach Neville, Coach Duquette, Coach Stump put together a great defensive game plan, and we put Matt Sheehan on the nose. And you're not going to read about this in the Telegraph, you're not going to see it on the news, but Matt's job was to take the center for Manchester Memorial and drive him as far back in the backfield as he could, which negated Manchester Memorial's guard's ability to pull, and as a result, we end up winning the game 6-2 on a Bill Munson touchdown run. But you won't hear much about it. But Matt Sheehan, probably the catalyst and the reason why we win that game and head to the championship game. That's what I remember most about that. I was thinking through the course of today, I'm sure a lot of people here used to watch The Sopranos, and there was one episode where Tony Soprano said that remember when is the worst form of conversation. And I think he's wrong in that regard. I think days like today are all about remember when, and it gives you a good feeling. And this has been nothing but a good feeling day, and it didn't really work out for Tony Soprano in the end anyway. Before I hand it back over to Lisa to close today's induction ceremony, I will say what I said verbatim in 2023. It's been a memorable and inspirational afternoon, catching up with folks that I haven't seen in years, hearing motivational stories from each of the inductees, and reminiscing about years gone by. Today gives us reason to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of extraordinary people who took great pride in their teams, their schools, and their city. These are the gatekeepers of excellence here in Nashua. It has been an honor and a privilege to MC this event here this afternoon. And to close it out, I would like to once again call up the co-head chair for the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame, Lisa Gingras, to close the ceremony. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jason. What a great afternoon. Unbelievable stories. How about another round of applause for our 10 inductees? Thank you to Jason Roby, our Master of Ceremonies, for another outstanding job. Even if you were a brunt of one of his many jokes, if we could have another round of applause for Jason. I would like to thank our photographer today, Taylor Riendo, who has been capturing today's festivities. For the inductees, Taylor will be giving us digital copies of all of the photos that I will share with all of you once we are done. Well, not immediately, but eventually. We would like to thank our principal sponsors who have supported this endeavor and made today's induction possible: Alpha Graphics, the Lions Club, and the Nashua Cougars. We would also like to thank the many businesses that supported today's inductions with ads in our program. So thank you to all of you who have supported today's induction. Though they are not here today, I would very much like to thank Mr. Jeff Leone and the students of Nashua Technology Center video productions classes for filming, editing, and compiling the inductee videos today. Special appreciation goes to Nashua High School senior Nick Chipchak, who was the lead student on today's project. You have also noticed that Nashua ETV has been filming today's induction for later broadcast on Nashua's Education Channel 22. Today's entire induction video will also be posted on YouTube, They have told me that it will broadcast Friday night at 9 p.m. and will be available on YouTube at that point. So a great thank you to Nashua ETV for all your hard work. We now have 138 members of the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame, and we're already making plans to add more deserving individuals, hopefully in 2 years. The next round of nominations are scheduled to open on April 1st, 2026, for the class of 2027 to be inducted in May 2027. Please visit the Hall of Fame page at either NashuaNorthAthletics.com or NashuaSouthAthletics.com for more information for nominations, as well as sponsorships to continue to allow us to hold this induction. At this time, our induction is concluded. On behalf of the Hall of Fame Committee, I thank you once again for attending today's ceremony. Congratulations to our inductees, and have a wonderful afternoon.